Hi everyone. Firstly, apologies for my recent absence, but I recently caught COVID-19 along with other members of my family and have been unwell to make any form of content, so apologies, and we are all clear of COVID now. Also, just want to mention at this point that I am doing this video slightly differently. I just want to keep things a bit simple, so apologise if you wanted the usual intro, but not today. So, I wasn't really going to do another Ark news video, but then I thought there have been some exciting news and developments recently, so just thought I'd just get behind the microphone and record a little video. So starting with Ark Fjordur, still set to release this summer, in next month in fact. The first news is that Mononir will be coming with the game. It is a skin for the tech sword, and apparently they are including a worthy mechanic. I put worthy in abbreviated commas, meaning you will have to do something or possibly reach a level requirement in order to be worthy to possess the power of Thor, etc, etc, etc. Furthermore, the full details of 3 new creatures for Fjordur have been released. The link to those is in the description, so that's the Andrewsarchus, the Desmond bat thing, and the Fjordhawk. I'm sure the correct names will be in the description, and click the links to the videos from the official Ark channel. And also, I've put the link into the recent Community Crunch as well, which has details on all 3 as well. They all have cool abilities, and definitely creatures that I really want to get my hands on. So, some other very exciting news, and interesting in terms of Ark Survivor Evolved for the Nintendo Switch. The Ultimate Survivor Edition will be making its way to Switch this September, featuring a complete overhaul to bring it to the same standard as Ark for all the other consoles. Also, they will be releasing all the DLCs from Ark, so that's Scorched Earth, Aberration, Extinction, and Genesis Parts 1 and 2. And the update in December will feature Scorched Earth, and then it will be every 2 months following on from that, basically. So if you're on the Switch and play Ark and you happen to be listening to this video, there's some positive news there. So I do very quickly want to touch on Ark II. I mean, yet again, I have to speak about the facts and truth of this. There are a whole lot of videos and comments on the internet regarding Ark II. None of these are very truthful and don't have many facts. The information they have is very circumstantial and is essentially creating clickbait, again in abbreviated commas. I mean, there are 2 official comments regarding Ark II. There is a new image which was used at the official launch of Unreal Engine 5, which just shows off Santiago with a dinosaur. And also, Wildcard's executive stated that Ark II and also the animated series news is coming very soon. So, let's just continue holding our breath on that. There's also a brief mention of the situation regarding consoles. I have been aware of a tweet by someone at Xbox or someone related to them who have stated that it will be a Series X and S exclusive launch. Now, to be honest, I'm not really bothered about how the game is going to be launched, because at the end of the day, that is a launch process. It is very common for certain consoles to get it first, etc. There's a lot of that kicking around because that's the nature of the biz. And despite the fact that I can't find any relevant information in terms of from Wildcard that supports the tweet that Xbox have said, we can't really ignore it, because it does state that that's how the game is launching. However, Wildcard have not stated what consoles it will be playable on at all. So that's not saying what consoles it will launch on, that's saying what consoles it will be available on as a whole. Like, you get some trailers that have all the different logos on the bottom of all the different consoles. We still don't know that. Now, okay, yes, you could infer from that tweet, and also from the original tweet, which consistently states next gen. So it's possible to infer that this means Ark II will only be playable on next gen consoles. But in my mind, that does seem a bit of a ludicrous statement to make. Not because I disagree with it, or not because anything like that. I just think that when we don't know, it seems a bit ridiculous to use our inference, or to assume that we know what is coming. For example, the launch, it could, okay, yes, it could, the Ark II could be S and X, but just because that's what it says on just because that's what it's launching with. But then again, it might not be. Because again, Wildcard haven't really said anything since the trailer released almost 2 years ago now, and it's still baffling to this day. It's very much like they've sent a train on the way, and we've stopped at a station, and we're being held there because of a red signal, basically. I mean, that's the only analogy I can draw with this, is that, Ark II's hype train was sent away from the station for a month or two, and then red signal because Wildcard didn't do anything with it. In my mind, they did everything too quickly with Ark. They released a trailer too quickly. It was almost like they seemed pressured, or pressured may not be the right word, or it seemed to be a rush. For example, I mean, we knew something was coming, after Genesis Part 2, because they were ending everything. That was the whole stick of Genesis Part 1 and 2. But then, to know that they've been working on Ark 2 since the end of Extinction's release, I mean, that's... Yeah. As I say, I don't want to infer, because Xbox has said what it's launching with. In my mind, that's a launch process. That isn't part of, that doesn't suggest cross-play, or that doesn't suggest PC or anything like that. It doesn't cover that. And it's not uncommon to see games be released on certain consoles first, because because there's some kind of, because usually that's because of some kind of, they've got joint advertising, or there's a deal or something. There's always something there, and personally I can see that's they've driven that, fine, but it doesn't mean to say that Wildcard haven't made the game playable on PC, or they haven't made the game playable on PlayStation, on either, or Nintendo Switch, or things like that. There's a list of consoles that we can play it on that we are missing, and that is what I'm talking. I don't mind launch process. Okay, great, yeah, that's fine. We know how it's going to launch, but we don't know about game longevity, and I think that's one of the things Wildcard are very good at, is knowing how to make the game last. I mean, they've made Ark 1 last 6 years. Is their intention to do the same with Ark 2? Then my thinking would be there's going to be more consoles than just the Xbox. That's I just can't. Yeah, I mean, there's some other points, because Wildcard has said nothing, and there are still far too many burning questions at the minute. I've comprised a bit of a list, but number one, we have no release window, i.e. autumn or winter 2022. Let's be honest, we're already into summer now, so I can't see it being a summer release. So, and I don't want to. I I will not say the words release date, because personally, if they've learned any lessons from Ark 1, they should not give or an exact date. They should do a release window. So that way, if it's winter 2022, we know that's going to be end of December. Because that's the last part of the year. So there's just a smart thing to play there. We also have no, as I've just been talking about, don't really have much information about what consoles the game will be available on. However, we do know that it will be an exclusive Xbox launch, whatever that means. So clearly there's going to be it will be playable on Xbox first, I would guess, and then the other consoles might be like 2 days later or something like that. Which I know from personal experience that has happened. So we have no information on new features, so I really hope they're not just be working Ark 1 with better software, graphics, etc. I hope there is something new. My other hope is they've brought in this celebrity name, and I hope they just didn't bring him in for a trailer. It doesn't make sense. So Wildcard stated that they wanted to try and do more story, particularly in that article we went through a couple of years back with one of the executives, and a campaign mode separate from the usual sandbox element would give them more story and also explain why Vin Diesel is portraying a character, as I would hate to think that we end up customizing our character rather than everyone looking like Santiago. So these three questions could be resolved with a new trailer showcasing a bit more of the sandbox environment and some of the new dinos that we'll encounter, also showing us more of Santiago, and perhaps with the tagline "Play as Santiago" in a brand new campaign mode, something like that. Then you would end the video with the logo underneath giving us the release window and the playable consoles, and probably cutting to an Xbox logo saying play at launch exclusively on X or S or something like that. That's how I would do it. That would answer so many questions and give us the information that we desperately need to know about right now. And hopefully we'll get some of those answers very soon. But until then, I'm going to continue remaining sort of silent on the subject of Ark II until we have more information. I agree with the Wildcard executive. There may be more news soon, and I can speculate and theorize forever. But to be honest, the truth is, I'm waiting for more information from Wildcard, and to be quite honest, I think their silence is speaking volumes at the minute, because they've played their cards right. Now they have to put this in action, and that's what we're waiting for. I mean, that's all for today's video. Make sure you subscribe, comment, head over to Facebook or the Twitter pages. Make sure to hit that notification bell, ding, to never miss a video. All those usual things. Thanks for watching today's video. I hope it hasn't felt too ranty. And have a great day, survivors. Excuse me. Hello? There is still some news to be reported. Right. Thank you. Sorry about that. Ark Fjordur, the new map coming, will be released on the 12th of June. Also announced was that Fenrir, which was part of the original mod map, will also be included in this free DLC. One of the first creatures from a mod map to actually make it onto an official sponsored content. So this is quite an interesting reveal. We haven't had any details on Fenrir yet, but the good news is that Fjordur has a release date of the 12th of June. Following that, we've had a reveal from Studio Wildcard's CEO, no less, that Ark II news will be coming in the next 2 weeks. There'll be something. We're assuming it's a trailer. Let's hope. and it seems that might coincide with the Xbox Bethesda event happening in the next 2 weeks or so. So there's some good news there. Also, the CEO also revealed all of the platforms that Ark II will be available on. They are as follows: PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and Switch. And those platforms are all the platforms in time. So that covers, if it's Xbox, it covers the latest generation and also Xbox One, not just without any letters following it. I would say the current, how Ark Survival Evolved, all the consoles it's available on there, it will be available on to us, basically. That's how it is. Obviously, there is still the exclusive launch of when it comes out for the Series S and X. So I would say that's probably now an Xbox launch, meaning that if you have an Xbox, it will just be exclusive to you for a day, probably, and then Ark 2 will probably be released to everybody else. But as I said about 2 minutes ago, we knew, we could have had an idea that Wildcard were going to do as many consoles as possible. So this is great news for us all, and let's hold fast for that trailer. It's coming now. There's this renewed sense of excitement now. So yes, so I'll catch you guys for the next reveal.